You're watching The Crossover.
So, all right, let's get to this question. Hoops Hobby says, how much does the personality of a player factor into their collectability, as opposed to how much does their on-court performance factor into their collectability? So how do you stack those two up?
I think performance has a much greater influence, but it's almost like you need to have the performance first, unless you're just like wildly, you have a crazy personality, but usually the personality will like supplement it and take it to the next level. I'm thinking of like a Dennis Rodman, Allen Iverson, even Michael Jordan, LeBron. Those guys have big personalities. That stuff always helps them. That's always been the issue with Duncan and Kawhi, I feel like. Those two guys have less of a personality and less, exciting persona off the court, and that's held them back a decent amount. But you got to have the performance, I think, as your foundation.
Agreed. But they both do matter a lot. But, one thing that as I was really thinking about this, I was like, once I've come to admire or like a player for their performance, it becomes very difficult to then be like, but, I don't like his accent or something. Once I'm in, and I'm gonna probably like their personality unless they're a serial.
Well, what about this? What about their personality not necessarily being like what they say off the court, but like how their style of play is, as like that's how you read into their personality. For example, if you like Jokic because of his kind of quirky style,
True.
You might take that as like his personality is that he's kind of quirky as a guy. That's like what you pull from it is how you watch him and his style of play.
Yeah, there's something to that. There has to be something to that. It matters. It definitely, personality, even as an extension of play style, certainly matters.
Style of play and how you carry yourself on the court or field is big for me.
Yeah, it is. Josh, can you see Adam?
I can. It must be the quad is where I lose it. I can only do 3.
I'm watching Josh's Phoenix Suns have 82 points in the fourth quarter.
You had to come on just to say that? That's funny.
No. I like this discussion, though, because I think that personality can overshadow production. And I think for the lower, less, let's consider them a GOAT, it can propel some, like Pat McAfee is a punter, but his cards sell. You know what I mean? I think the very low end, there are some personalities, but I also think the window of those lasting are not generational like the all-time guys. LeBron and Jordan will be collected forever. The other guys are like a moment in time. And so they'll last for that generation, and when that generation, if they teach their kids, but we're not going to remember Odell like we did 5 years ago. You know what I mean? But I do think that there are certain guys like Giannis where the humility is very appreciated by the hobby. And I think that there are other guys like Kevin Durant where the hobby looks at it and goes, I don't like his personality. And so I think when you're on those weird tiers, I think it can mess it up. But I think if you're truly the goats, it doesn't matter. Unless, you're hateful.
How does KD have the most votes, but he gets trashed in the hobby? What am I missing?
I have heard, and I'm sure you guys know this more than me, that China doesn't like him.
So how is he getting
I've always heard.
These damn votes?
Because I think.
So you're saying you think China has a bigger influence in the hobby than the fan vote?
If we're China to the hobby versus China to voting for NBA All-Star, I just think that you could call me wrong. I have no idea. I've just heard people say this. Chris looks like he's jotting notes.
I am.
I'm going to let him talk.
Keep going.
No, you. Okay. He needs me to vamp. Stretch. I think that if you're looking at name the top 5 players in the NBA right now, he's on the list. And so I think when it comes down to vote, and I also think that forward in the East, there's 4 names and then it drops off. forward including center, where it's Embiid, Giannis, Durant, and Tatum, and then there's a huge drop off. And so I think he was definitely going to be in there. But the voting is also crazy. I mean, like Andrew Wiggins is above Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I think. You know,
He started last year in the All-Star game.
that was because of K-pop.
Yeah. Right. It was actually. Okay, but listen to this. All right, so this you got me thinking. Who has the worst personality of athletes, but still is beloved by the hobby? Still is collectible. The worst personality.
Ty Cobb.
Christina,
Raging racist.
Fair. Fair. Okay. Throwing away people from a racist era.
I mean, shoot. I mean, Donald Trump has crazy cards. Okay. All right. Athletes. Ooh. It's interesting because I think that, like, I'll just say this. Kobe was somebody that when I was younger, I did not like. Because I thought he was brash and I thought he was mean and I thought it was, like, really intense. And now that I'm older, I look at it and I'm like, he's how I want everybody to be in life. You know, why can't we all have Kobe mentality? Stiff arm wax said, I'm going to say Jerry West. He is my rival. He is my rival.
That's good.
Well, who would you say right now in sports is abrasive? Like, who is abrasive?
I have to fall back on part of my own PC. I mean, I see on Twitter that people hate Luka for the facial gestures and the other demonstrative stuff that he does.
Yeah.
You know,
The technical.
the
ref.
the whining to the refs. That's the one thing I hear more about than anything. Oh my God, if you didn't whine to the refs so much.
Luka definitely would have went to Duke. No, I think that's also crazy because I think the true thing is as somebody that bets Luka props, he gets hit a lot and they do not call it. But the problem is that he goes in anticipating that he's going to get hit. But I'm trying, like, I don't know. Josh, you seem like somebody that people's personalities would rub you the wrong way. Draymond, I saw, like, I know people don't like Draymond, but I don't find him to be a bad guy.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. I was thinking of Aaron Rodgers. Someone in the chat said that too. Like, he rubs a lot of people the wrong way with all his comments. He's still pretty questionable.
In the last few years, that Aaron Rodgers did, yeah.
KD is pretty annoying, dude. He's pretty horribly annoying, or at least he was. He may have been getting better over the last couple of years, but he had a stretch there where it was like, just get off Twitter, KD. You're annoying.
And for me, it's like I get so bored with the super humble guys that I love people that embrace being a villain because it truly makes sports better when you do have a Lance Stevenson who's willing to, like, blow in people's ears and start fights. Like when I think back, that's what's so wild about the 90s is that Michael Jordan was all of our heroes and he was all of the players' villains. And we didn't realize that at the time because he was doing McDonald's commercials, but he was the one going up and being like, I'm going to kick you out of the NBA tonight. I'm going to score so many points on you that you're going to get kicked off the team. But we as kids were like, kick him off the team, Michael.
Love when he punches Steve Kerr. Punch him! Punch him!
Yeah, everyone's like, "Oh, Steve Kerr's got a punchable face." You know, like we just
what?
Everything was
Steve
fine.
Kerr he seems so nice, and we're all like, "Yeah, punch him."
It's hard to be the villain, man. Like that's why when people become the villain, like they have to go so hard because you cannot ever be like, "Oh, I was just kidding," because then you lose all credibility. So like when you go full villain, like. Man, that's rare.
Is Draymond still in the TNT sort of?
Oh yeah.
Band?
Oh yeah.
Has anything come up of him punching? I feel like he never really addressed it fully.
He did something with TNT before, like, because they had the opening night on TNT, and he did an interview, and I think they did talk about it. I mean, he's got his own podcast. I think he's been asked about it a ton. I think the big thing was when Jordan Poole came out and said that he, was like okay with it, and that once the victim, I feel like, says they're okay with it, I feel like those stories usually die, and then the season starts, But I mean, we got Dana White out here slapping his wife in a club, like there's a lot of physical contact these days. Next thing you know, Josh is going to slap Chris. It's going to be crazy.
Sean Watson, we're just pretending like none of that ever happened. I don't know when that happened.
I was having a discussion about it with my friend. He was like, why aren't people talking about it? I said, no, they're going to talk. This was the week he came back. And I said, but you forget that, like, the NFL, the storylines, as soon as the games are played, they completely get washed away.
Yeah.
Like, the NFL is incredible. Like, NBA, like, we'll talk about Kevin Durant having burners for the next 50 years. Like, in the NFL, it's like, oh, but he did show up for my fantasy team. Like, it's crazy, man. Like, the NFL just washes away things. Like, Jerry Jones is, I think, having to go to court right now to take a paternity test. This woman is accusing of him being her dad, and no one's talking about it. Like, this is crazy. But we're like, yeah, but are they going to get the 1 seed? Like,
Yeah.
Spoken like a true Eagles fan, Adam.
Yeah.
How you feeling right now about your squad, especially after Minshew proved that Hurts is the real deal?
Right.
That's the point. I think for me, I think that we're going to beat the Giants and we're going to get the bye. And I think hopefully it is the Silver Linings Playbook, which was an Eagles movie, that every good champion has to have a crushing loss that reframes their mindsets of what a loss feels like.
Fair.
And I think that was always the story of those Patriots teams. But I even remember covering Kentucky in the year where they were undefeated all year with Anthony Davis and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, and they lost in the SEC championship to Vanderbilt. And then after that, you couldn't touch them. It was like in 300 when the spear goes by Xerxes' face and he like its own blood, and he's like, killed him. But I think that just as a Hurts collector, let's talk about this from a cards perspective. It was starting to annoy me that everybody's like, it's a great team. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, I'm also an Eagles fan. Like, I watched the Colts game where he literally carried the team on his back for the last 2 quarters and ran in when the plays weren't working. I watched the Jacksonville game where like they were down 14-0, and he like his ability to run through people, his ability to like QB sneak, all of those plays where like the fake handoffs that Gardner was running that the defense wasn't falling for, it's because he's not a threat to run. Like the team is great, but it's perfectly built with him in mind, like, and so I'm glad that everyone has that realization. I think as I look through the NFC, I think the Niners, I would put a little bit above the Eagles right now. But if that game is in Philadelphia, now it's let's run all over this team.
Yeah. But how can you put the Niners above them when the Niners, we don't even know who's going to be quarterbacking for them the first week of the playoffs?
Yes, we do.
Who? BCB?
Purdy. Yeah, Purdy.
Oh, man. I heard Jimmy might be coming back.
You can't.
You can't put Jimmy over BCB?
Purdy hasn't
What's your issue with Brock Purdy?
Hasn't lost yet.
He hasn't lost yet. He's unproven. He's unproven goods. I do like what he's done.
What has Jimmy Garoppolo proven to you?
Jimmy G made the Super Bowl. He was one incredible
Jimmy G made the Super Bowl. How many passes did Jimmy G throw in the NFC Championship game? 8.
I believe it was 16.
8.
Last year?
But that was
8?
No, the one when they beat the Packers to lose to the Niners, he threw 8 passes in the NFC Championship game. Kyle Shanahan's offense with your golden child CMC just needs a guy to get it done. Hey, listen, I like Jimmy G. But how many times have we seen you ride the hot hand in the playoffs?
Right. The Bears should have. Remember the Bears in the Colts Super Bowl about 14 years ago? Riding the hot hand, man. I agree. I'm with you.
Who was the hot? It wasn't. So who was it? Not Rex.
No, it was Orton.
And they had Orton.
Kyle Orton. I remember that.
Who was? I mean, Tom Brady is the example.
Yep.
Because Drew Bledsoe was back against the Steelers. I mean, Eagles rode Nick Foles, but and they were like saying Carson Wentz could come back. The reason I said the Niners is right now, the Niners have a truly elite side of the ball in that defense.
Yeah, they do.
And my Eagles right now, it's like, hey, we got 2 weeks and like hopefully Lane Johnson comes. There's just a lot of questions right now. It's like when someone asks you, who think's the MVP? And then you give an answer, but it's also like, guys, it's January.
Yeah.
Like DeMar DeRozan was the MVP last February.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. Let's go. The Bulls are still frisky too. They beat all the best teams and they lose to the bad ones.
What's your basketball opinion that is counter to what everybody else has right now?
I'm kind of lining up with the mainstream right now. I'm not going to lie.
Tatum.
Oh, I don't think Tatum is a bona fide MVP candidate. That's probably the one. That's the biggest. But I think most people have kind of come around to that now.
He's not going to make first team All NBA.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
I mean,
He might not start in the All-Star game.
He's got Giannis and KD ahead of him. He's not going to make the first team All NBA.
Because right now, the Eastern Conference, the four forwards are Tatum, Durant, Embiid, and Giannis.
Yep.
Giannis is playing.
Yep.
Durant is playing. So it's going to come down to Tatum versus Embiid. And I'll even say as a Sixers fan, I would go Tatum. Just because he's played in more games.
True.
And Embiid is so frustrating.
Why?
Because he thinks he's a point guard for half the game.
I mean, the guy's putting up 34 points a game.
Yeah.
He's a beast. He's
I think
just as good this year, man. He's right there.
third of it's from the free throw line. I know. But here, I don't want to mess up your show, but I will say, so Tuesday is the first show.
Okay.
I would love to request from the hobby for when the show is on TNT, if you guys could get on Twitter and tweet at the show. It is always appreciated. The more, and I'll give you a hint for how tweets can get on the air. This is what I've learned getting my own tweets on the air as a viewer before I was on.
Let's go.
The key is you need to make an observation about the show in the first 30 seconds coming out of commercial, whatever the block is, whether it's a clothing thing or like making fun of my turtleneck or whatever. You need to tweet it out almost immediately and then tag at NBA on TNT and then like hashtag NBA on TNT. Because what happens is there's like a producer in the back that's like scanning through. And the ones that hit quick, he's like, I got some good ones on Lefkoe's turtlenex. Those are going on. Like that's how television, they need it right away. But we're starting at 7. We'll have a half an hour. There's a chance that we're going to be talking to SGA on headset before the game, which would be really fun.
Nice.
And then the night game is Warriors and Suns, and looks like Andrew Wiggins is going to be back. Everyone's excited to see that All-Star.
All right.
But I had all the meetings today. We have a. I don't think Jamal's watching right now. We have a good prank for Jamal that he doesn't know about, so that'll be fun.
Why you got to prank him on his first day? I mean, come on.
Because it's rookie hazing.
All right. Dang.
Like,
Adam, are you confirming you will be wearing a turtleneck?
Yeah, we did. We could maybe prepare some jokes if you can tell us.
I'm never going to not wear a turtleneck.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
I'm telling you right now that I believe that our show started in like 2020, and right after I started wearing turtlenecks all the time, I firmly believe that there are more turtlenecks per minute on television. Like if we were to do like analytics, I watch like ESPN and stuff. There's dudes wearing turtlenecks all the time. I did not see that before, and I was counting because I was like, I think I'm the only dude up here wearing turtlenecks.
Oh, you started it, didn't you?
And so now, Christina, my dream is I'm going to find a company to make a Lefkoe line of turtlenecks because I actually think that the hobby would love it because a turtleneck and a suit is the most comfortable outfit as a formal man. And if you want to play hoops and you happen to be wearing a suit, you take the jacket off, your hoop's ready. You got a button down, you're pulling on you and stuff. It restricts motion. But no, yeah, turtlenecks and sneakers. That's what we're doing all the time.
Holy shit. All right, that's a lot of material to work
I
with.
like it. Thank you, Adam.
You're welcome. Yeah, Chris, do you have any turtlenecks?
I'm not a formal guy. You said this is the formal guy's hooping outfit.
Okay, let's say, hold on, let's say you officially win Hobby Influencer of the Year.
All right.
What would you wear to the award ceremony?
Well,
He's wearing
I'd walk in my closet, I'd look and I'd say, okay, I got Adidas shorts and Adidas pants, so that's going to be a tough call. And then a hoodie, maybe Nuggets, maybe Mavericks, I'm not sure. Hopefully some socks are washed. Otherwise, I'm going feet in sandals.
Okay.
No.
Okay, now hold on. You're right. I gave a bad example because you would obviously disrespect that.
Yeah.
The person presenting the award,
by the way.
it's a double presentation between Michael Jordan and Luka.
Ooh.
The invitations come out and they say black tie only.
Okay.
So you know that everybody else there is going to be fancy, and you have to give a speech.
All right.
What are you gonna wear?
I hit up Josh.
Yeah,
Josh, what would you advise me to do?
Listen to this. There's a story here. We got invited to a fancy dinner at the National, and the at the door it said pants and slacks or slacks and ties or whatever. It said that on the door. This fucking guy walks in with sandals, basketball shorts, and a hoodie, and I look at him and I'm like, dude, we're gonna get thrown out of here. And he's like, no, we won't. And we didn't. So, you know.
All right, but Adam, to answer your question.
Pretty sure Adam was at that dinner.
And listen, he was there. He made a joke.
I think I was wearing an Allen Iverson red long sleeve shirt. I think me and Chris were.
Now, Adam, I'm not saying this just because you're on. I think I would go with a turtleneck from the Lefkoe line, and then maybe some sneakers. And I would say that even if you weren't here. So I think that's what I would do.
Because that's the thing, dude. If you were to wear like a clean turtleneck with some sneakers that match the color of the turtleneck, you're in.
Yeah.
Because some guy's going to go, do you know the best part of wearing a turtleneck is someone always comes up to you and goes, you look really comfortable. And I go, I fucking am.
Let's go. I like that.
All right. Well, this was fun. It was good talking to you guys.
First fashion segment we've ever done.
Yeah, like,
Appreciate it.
Hoj, you need your own line of hoodies.
Yeah, we're working on it.
And we're still working on Josh getting sponsored by Truly.
That's not going well. I'll take a pizza sponsorship at this point.
From Elliot's, maybe.
I would take like a Red Baron frozen pizza sponsorship. That'd be sick.
I wish you guys luck. All right, this was a pleasure. I'll talk to you guys later.
See you Tuesday.
Yeah.
The Crossover. Join the chat and participate live on The Crossover every Friday night on Instagram. The Crossover. Don't miss it.